What's up, everyone? Sam, Entropy Advisors. First off, thank you, Klaus, and the entire Hack Humanity team. This is awesome to be able to meet all you guys in person, so seriously, thank you. But we're going to talk really quickly about crafting a DAO proposal. This is what we do at Entropy quite often, so we're happy to answer any questions as well. If you come up to Matt or I, we can answer any of those. I guess just quickly, by a show of hands, who here has actually gone through the Arbitrum governance process before? Okay, so maybe 10 to 15%. So we're going to go a little bit high level here. We kind of start with the ideation phase, which is where we're at right now. So speaking with the community, hosting working groups, getting an initiative actually onto the forum. So that's kind of what we're working towards right now. We want to be able to get initiatives after this GovHack onto the forum. And then it'll go to snapshot after it sits on the forum for at least 7 days. And you need to ask a delegate with a certain amount of voting power in order to get that snapshot live, and it will live on snapshot for 7 days as a temperature check. This vote is just preliminary, getting a sentiment check from the community, and assuming you get support there, you will move to an on-chain proposal for tally, and you must get that posted by a wallet with enough voting power as well, and usually that's 3 weeks from start to finish. But diving in a little bit deeper, there's 2 different proposal types. I kind of looked at the different tracks, and I think all of these will likely be non-constitutional. But in case anyone wants to do a constitutional AIP, you would either be modifying the actual constitution or changing the actual underlying software of the protocol. And these are also, it's worth noting that it's more difficult to get these passed because it has a higher quorum. And getting all of those people to actually vote can be more challenging. So unless you have something very ambitious you're going after, it might make more sense to go for a non-constitutional AIP in the context of GovHack. Moving on, this is the general structure you want to follow. So as you're beginning to craft these proposals, be sure to keep this in mind. Also, if you just Google Arbitrum governance docs, this exact same thing will pop up. So if you lose it, I recommend looking there. But you just want an abstract, a motivation, rationale, key terms, specs, the steps to implement, the timeline, as well as the overall costs. For the ideation phase, this is when you're kind of right now trying to put through an idea onto the forum and get comments on that idea and see how the community actually feels about it. So you also want to think about your funding sources. If your idea maybe doesn't require more than $50,000, maybe you want to check out some of the grants programs that are available at your disposal within Arbitrum and get funding there, which is totally fine if that's something that people want to go for here. You also want to make sure that you're not overlapping with other things that are already ongoing within the DAO. For example, there was a proposal pretty recently that comes to top of mind here where it was Treasury-backed vault research for a stablecoin against ARB from the Treasury to take out loans to avoid selling ARB. But people in the comments were hey, can't we fund the ARDC to research this? So unfortunately, that proposal did not pass snapshot. So now they are still iterating on that proposal and figuring out how they can move it forward. So if you want to avoid that situation, definitely recommend just thinking about the existing programs or asking questions from people in the audience here who are familiar with the DAO. So that way there's no overlapping. So for the feedback phase, once you actually get something on the forum, if you're having troubles getting feedback on the forum because people aren't commenting, maybe they didn't see it, I just recommend reaching out to as many people as you can on Telegram, maybe in the delegate Telegram chat, or if you know any of them directly on Twitter. Usually everyone is very responsive, but luckily here you have delegates in the room and a lot of people who are very active in the ecosystem, so recommend seeking their feedback when you are done with your proposal. As well as community calls, those can be super, super helpful, especially on topics that are more in-depth, I guess, and controversial. Getting people on a phone call or here in a room to actually talk those things through and get everyone's opinion is very valuable. In terms of best practices, we kind of already went over this. Just be wary of creeping into other people's scope of work, as well as you don't want to just make it one giant block of text. Try and make it a little bit more digestible if you can. And measurable KPIs are often deemed very, very good. You want to be able to explain to people what are your milestones, when are payments being received, what are the things you're trying to achieve, and why does the Arbitrum DAO need these type of things. So here's a really good example of a proposal. It was from Tally a while back to support the Arbitrum DAO. It was just super, super clear. There was a good budget, there was a timeline, it walks delegates through it, and there was clear deliverables, and it solved a very clear pain point for the DAO. This is an example of a proposal that I personally really liked the goal of it. It's recruiting and talent solutions for the DAO, and I think that's like a pain point that we really have. Like, we want to attract the best talent to the DAO to contribute to it, but it kind of lacked some of the detailed budget stuff and had a vague timeline with vague deliverables and less than ideal formatting, and that's just kind of like some of the comments that we had read on that forum post. And then this one is another good example, and I'm definitely not biased because I did not help write it, but the GovHack at ECC proposal, which made this event possible. Klaus did a really good job putting in all these different graphics, explaining kind of like his history working as an events organizer, and just really made it super easy with clear deliverables as well as milestones to reach and when the payments would be distributed, et cetera, et cetera. All right, that's all I got. Thank you, guys.